देउटा भइसकेपछि त अब घरमा सम्झिने त कुरै भएन हैन त्यही हो माया त हुन्छ देउटाको हिसाबबाट मात्रै माया
6 years ago, Minta Sakya gave up her 3-year-old daughter to a group of priests responsible for maintaining the Nepalese cult of virgin worship.
अब जब आफ्नो घरमा आउनुहुन्छ अनि त्यहाँबाट आफ्नो छोरीको हिसाबबाट माया अरु बेला त अब देउटाको हिसाब राम्रै छ नि देउता हो छोरी हैन घरमा त्यही सम्झिने त्यही अब कुमारीको हिसाबबाटै हामी चाहिँ सम्झिने
Today, Minta's daughter, the royal Kumari, is 9 years old and the most powerful of the 8 living goddesses in this ancient Himalayan kingdom. Surrounded by the Tibetan plateau and the Indian subcontinent, the mountainous region of Nepal is an amalgam of different cultures. And just as the Himalayas were created by the collision of 2 great landmasses, so too has the creation of the living goddess come from the union of 2 of the region's great religions, Hinduism and Buddhism. Steeped in traditions as old as the mountains, Nepal has known the living goddess for several millennia.
It's perhaps a measure of the breadth of Hinduism that the living goddess is actually a Buddhist. Chosen from the Sakya sect of the Buddhists, she is worshipped by all of Nepal as a Hindu goddess.
But it's only in the 18th century that the practice of venerating someone so young began.
The story, the legends which we hear is that one of the kings, he was like very promiscuous and had sexual relations with so many girls. And once he had a sexual relationship with a girl who was 12 years old, and she died, I believe. And he said, well, I'm so sorry for whatever I did. I'm going to just take this girl, young girl, and just give it to God as an offering. And then this way, I'll just wash off whatever bad things I have done.
According to legend, the royal Kumari must be installed in this Hindu temple next to the king's palace, where she is looked after by a family of priests who for generations have been her caretakers. Jujubai Sakya, the present caretaker, is now looking after his 8th goddess.
अहिलेसम्म हामीहरूको त परम्परा पुर्खौली नै हौँ हामी है मेरो बुवाको पालामा कतिजना भयो मेरो बाजेको पालामा कतिजना भयो बुवा जस्तो भएर होइन कि हामी सेवक जस्तो भएर बस्नुपर्ने हामी त सेवक हो बुवा होइन उसको आमा बुवा त छँदै छ नि उसको आमा बुवाहरू त आफ्नो घरैमा छन् यहाँ बस्नु पाउँदैन
In Nepal, the secret life of a deity is guarded religiously by her caretaker. And it seemed that only an act of God would get our cameras into the temple.
उसका फोटोग्राफ कर सकते हैं?
ना वो तो नहीं है
लेकिन नेपाल में दूसरा कुमारी है उसको भी कर सकते कोई प्रॉब्लम
नहीं उसको वो ले सकते हैं खाली यहाँ के लिए मनाई नहीं इसीलिए इसके लिए जितना मान्यता है जितना मान्यता मान रखते हैं आदमी लोग दूसरे को उतना नहीं रखते
The Patan Kumari lives just across the Bagmati River in the second largest town in the Kathmandu Valley. But unlike the royal Kumari, whose respect stretches to the provision of a temple, this goddess, like her 7 regional counterparts, lives in somewhat less salubrious accommodation. Since the age of 3, Chandrashila has begun every day with a formal worship ceremony in her puja or prayer room. Now 7 years old, with a grandfather as her caretaker, Chandrashila will live in this room, greeting worshippers until she reaches puberty. Somehow it's difficult to imagine my own 7-year-old in her place.
कभी रो रहे इसमें
उस टाइम में पूजा करने के लिए रुआया
अच्छा अच्छा
बस बड़ा मदर ने पूजा किया है
After centuries of tradition, the process of turning a 3-year-old into a virgin goddess is as established as it's ritualized. And clearly not everyone can become a Kumari.
कुमारी एउटा अर्को दुईटा तीनटा छानबिन गर्यो त्यो छानेर बडा गुरुजीको श्रीमान सरकारको बडा गुरुजीको घरमा लग्यो त्यो आएर चाकमा राखी जस्तो भयो त्यहाँबाट गएर बडा गुरुजीको पलङभित्र गएर यो देवीको मुद्रा लगाउँदै देखाइदियो अनि यो बडा गुरुजीको श्रीमतीले बुझ्नुभयो कि यो साक्षात् यो भगवती माता
Shamdungal is the government administrator who is responsible for the selection process and the continuance of the Kumari tradition.
जसमा रूप हुनु पर्यो गुण हुनु पर्यो जन्मकुण्डली त्यो जन्मकुण्डली लिएर तपाईको हामी एउटा शाक्यको एक्सपर्ट हुन्छ र एउटा राज ज्योतिष र अनि ज्योतिष तान्त्रिकवाला जोहरू हुन्छन् उहाँहरू बसेर त्यो कुण्डलीलाई वास्तवमा भर्चुअली यसको फाइनल डिसिजन को भनेर भन्यो भने इज अ किङ
Once chosen, the 3-year-old is plunged into a series of highly secret initiation ceremonies, which include being paraded past a collection of 32 freshly severed, bleeding buffalo heads.
नेक्स्ट डे के हुन्छ भने कुमारी जुन घर कुमारीको घर छ त्यहाँबाट उहाँ पैदलै हिँडेर जुन तलेजु भगवानीको मन्दिर अलि टाढा त्यो हाम्रो पुलिसभन्दा अगाडिपट्टिको जुन तपाईँले देख्नुभयो होला ठुलो चाहिँ बिल्डिङ त्यहाँ राति जुन चाहिँ सेक्रिफाइसहरू गरिन्छन् धेरै किसिमको टाउकोहरू जुन चाहिँ काटेको टाउकोहरू तपाईँको लाइन लगाएर राखेको हुन्छ
Legend has it that if the new Kumari shows any sign of fear, it's seen as a bad omen.
This country is very much, it's a religious country, okay? It's the strong traditional beliefs are here. People don't even ask, why am I doing this? Or why shouldn't I do this? Or I should not do this. So the practices are that because my mother did it, my father told me to do this, I will continue to do that.
And continue she does. 9 or 10 years of virtual isolation that ends only when she reaches puberty and has her first menstrual cycle.
If she starts menstruating, she's out of the thing. And why? It's like as if menstruation is something that's awful. This is going to happen to every girl.
And it's a day that for the royal Kumari's mother can't come soon enough.
पहिला ड्योयाला मस्यो अनि ड्योया सा टङ खङ्खे लानु बेला टोटा ठगा बेला चिटा दुखे दुर्गा म चाहिँ ला मायाला ड्योया मखो अनि चन्छ बानीजी हंगला मम्मी डाडी ओडाए पटी त चोने खलाए सँग होनी
From a mother's point of view, there could be nothing worse than losing a child. But the price the young Kumari pays for being a goddess, praying and playing in a world void of laughter, is higher still. "63 years ago, when she reached puberty, Dil Kumari Diomaiju was forced to leave the Kumari temple and return to the world she left as a child, not as a goddess, but as an illiterate teenager.
Sultan nombre agnedo. Jayas गर्ने त जम्यास जया मुसा छ अनि पनि आँखा पनि मरे नेपाली छ नि अब
Today, as Nepal lumbers into the 21st century and tradition crumbles under the weight of centuries of exploitation, the institution of Kumari worship is facing its biggest challenge. Not from rival dynasties, but from the Kumari's parents.
अब यो 3 वर्षमा कुमारी भयो म 8 वर्ष कुमारी भएर 11 वर्षमा मलाई कुमारीबाट वर्जित भयो अब वर्जित भएपछि अब म के गरौँ कसो गरौँ भनेर एकदम नातिले पनि त्यो कुरा कसो नबुझ्ला यस्तै अवस्था आउँछ पछि भनेर मलाई अनि त्यो पनि गहिरो माने दुःख या सुखको कुरा त्यहाँ आयो
In order to prevent this and prepare her for the future, Chandrashila's grandfather has scraped the money together to hire a tutor for her. In the Royal Kumari temple, making provisions for the future is not so straightforward. Here, the caretaker replaces the grandfather, and tradition gets in the way of a good education.
She should be educated. अब कुमारी जस्तो educated भन्ने बित्तिकै स्कुलमा जान त मिल्दैन.
This is the 21st century. A lot of people are educated.
So, तपाईले जुन कुरा भन्नुभयो is the 21st century. You know, there are so many traditional things which is really very much scientific things also. Just like the gobar, you know. In the 21st century, gobar, you know, you understand what I meant, gobar. You think is the worst thing. But scientifically is a very, very useful thing to the society.
Useful or not, Bhuvanman Sakya, the Royal Kumari's uncle and headmaster of the local primary school, believes that you need more than cow dung to survive today.
Every Nepali citizenship should get education. But why living goddess can't get education? And for that I am now stepping to the government that why you didn't provide education to the living goddess?
I committed कि education को बारे में अब कुन education suitable हुन्छ that should be decided.
Is that happening now?
It's not happening. We are just
you're just thinking about it.
Yeah, not thinking. Maybe I will decide it within a year.
The years come and go all too fast for a Kumari, and before long the child goddess is back with her family, now a young woman and without the skills to earn a living.
These days, if a woman doesn't earn anything, she has very little prestige in her family. And this Kumari, this little girl who grew up in isolation, really has very little skills, very little knowledge to go out, seek a job, or get some work and then bring money home.
Did the government give you a pension after you left being a Kumari? And according to the parents of the Royal Kumari, this is not right. The biggest tourist draw card in Nepal, their daughter should get her share of the pot.
Many tourists, mostly they like to see the Living Goddess festival.
Which means she's generating more income.
Yeah, for all the hotel tourism and trekking like this. We claim that Living Goddess should get some earning source, or what the daily income, the Living Goddess must get some percentage of that income, because for our future. That we don't want for our family, but that is for her life.
For the Royal Kumari's father, it's not only about money. Being relegated to the rear of his daughter's ceremonial chariot in the biggest show in town is, well, downright degrading.
I like to stay in front So I am favor of living goddess. So I need to stay in first in the before the seat. But they do only they staying only the family of the priest. A priest. But I'm not very happy.
If you continue like this, then you won't get anybody.
Yes. Then it is the compulsion to decide something. The time is come. Before is not the raise the questions. Now it's a raise the questions. If the right question is there, maybe that will the solution should be come out.
It seems that for at least one family, trading a daughter for a goddess has lost its appeal.
Ala Kumari ho yawe mo kuni ala खुसी म छ नि त्यसो त हुन्छ अब भए पनि अब के गर्ने खै एकचोटी अब जस्तै अब देखाउन आउनुस् तपाईहरु आउनुस् हैन अब गयो भने त बच्चाले चिन्छ सँगै आउँछ भनेर रुन्छ त्यो बेलामा चाहिँ नि आफुलाई चाहिँ नि फेमस
अब कति वर्ष अब राखिसकेपछि अब के गर्ने अब राखिसक्यो खै भएन
For the moment, all he can do is watch the spectacle as his daughter's juggernaut rolls on. But if the king can't find the money to educate and support his biggest icon in her retirement, this may be the royal Kumari's last ride.
Do you recognize this picture?
And just like the fading photos and the dying memories, the Kumari could become just another story they tell the tourists in Nepal.
Museum couldn't be la, the Gabla, Fagaviano, Grimsy Dam, but near Kurdam, Mother Mulag, beside Messi Mother. Then I didn't come work it, and a few bana, a bamla.